we are almost done with our pants. We're at doing the waistband, so we're on step number 20 on our pants. Pattern Simplicity 90/50. So I want you to get out your waistband, so it's piece number 6 and piece number 5, and then have your finished pants, because in the last step we finished our pants, so you should have your pants all ready to go. So our first step, you should have already transferred your markings way, like many steps ago, and so you can take off your pattern pieces, and when you cut, maybe you cut 2, we only need 1 of each, so that second piece you can just toss that away. So we need 1 of piece 5, and then we're going to need 1 of piece 6, and that second one, toss it away. And then we are going to take them and we are going to put them with right sides together. And you're going to match, there's little notches on those sides, because what we're going to do is we're going to stitch here on these sides here. So I'm going to match those sides, and I'm going to pin. And I'm going to pin this one, I'm going to pin here. And where we have those notches, where we transferred those notches, we're going to stitch on the side that has no notches. We're going to stitch at 5/8 inch all the way down and not stop. On the side that has the markings, so it has the circles and we transferred, we're going to stitch to the dot, stop, leave an opening, it's about 1 inch, and then start again and finish it off. So stitch, open, stitch again. And so you're going to be left with a 1 inch opening on one side, and again, stitch the whole way on the other side. So I'm going to get my sewing machine, and always and forever, it's a 5/8 inch seam allowance, and always and forever, we are back stitching whenever we start and stop a seam. So here we go. We are starting and stopping. There we are. Okay. So that's the one that we did there. I'm going to do this side and leaving that opening. That opening is where we are going to insert our elastic when we put our elastic on our waistband. Okay, so that is done. So now what we're going to do, I've got to clip that thread. I can make some space here. We're going to take our iron and we're going to press. Our first step is to press open that seam allowance. I'm going to take my iron, I'm going to press open that seam allowance. Even the side that I left that space, that open space. So I pressed open that seam allowance, and I'll show you how that opening works. I'm going to press open that seam allowance. I want it all the way open. Okay, so the place where I left that opening, see how I can get my finger through there? That's where the elastic's gonna go. So now what I'm gonna do is this is gonna be my waistband. So I'm gonna fold this over. I'm going to fold it down all the way around, and I'm going to make my waistband. So I'm going to fold it in half lengthwise. So it's going to make a band. So it looks like this. So those edges, so the raw edges are even. I'm going to press that. So it's going to make a great big circle. The edges are even, and I'm pressing it. I'm going to go around, and I'm going to press that. So if you have an ironing board, this might be easier to press over the nose of the ironing board. If you, instead of, I'm pressing it flat on the table. I mean, it's fine to press it flat on the table, but I'm just telling you, it might be easier. Okay, so I have pressed it all the way around. So now, if you look, I've made what looks like a waistband. So it was flat. It was flat out like this, and I've just folded it so the edges are even. And now what I want to do, I'm going to stitch the folded edges together. Just using the edge of my foot as a guide, because what I want to do is I want to keep it basted together. So before I sew it onto my pants, because I don't want it to shift or anything. I just want to keep it even. So I'm gonna just stitch it together, and this is just doing nothing except for holding it together before I get it sewn to my pants. So it's going to just be a quick little thing. So I've now got it just stitched in place. That's to stop it from moving. My next step, so now that puts us at that step 21. So now we're moving on to step, if you want to do belt loop carriers, I'm going to leave the belt loop carriers off of this. But you would make your belt loop carriers now. So the belt loop carrier is for view B and C. So the belt loop carriers, you would take your piece, you're going to press this is piece number 9. You're going to press piece number 9 in half. And then you're going to open it up. Oh, not even on the screen. I pressed it in half. And then I'm going to fold each edge into that pressed center line that I just pressed. And I'm just using that pressed center line as a guide. But these are optional, so that's why I'm leaving them off of my sample here, because they're not totally necessary. So I've just made, and then you would stitch down on either side, and those would make the belt loop carriers or belt loops, and you would cut them into 3 even pieces. Okay, so now we're on to step number 25. So I'm going to take my waistband, and I need my pants now. So your pants should be all ready to go. You've pressed them, the seams are all set up, and you see you have notches on the front and the back, and you have your side seams. So you're going to hold your waistband so that the raw edge is facing up and those notches are facing up, and you're going to put your waistband over and around your pants, and then you want to line up the raw edge of the waistband to the top raw edge of your pants, and then you're going to match and pin the back notches. So I'm going to pin the back notches to the waistband. Then I'm going to pin the side seam to the side seam of the waistband. And then I'm going to come over here and I'll pin the side seam over here to the side seam of the waistband. And I'm not matching the parts in between yet, but I will. Then I'm going to come to the front, and I will match the front notch to the notch on the waistband, and the second notch on the waistband. And now I'm going to match the space in between the side seam and the front notches. So it takes about two pins in between, and then the back, there's a space between the notch and the side seam. So I'm going to put about two pins in between there. And then I'll do two pins on the other side between the side seam and that back notch. And here I've got another space here, so I need two pins. And then I'll show this to the camera, and then I'm going to sew it with 5/8 inch seam allowance. So if I show that to the camera, see how I've got that waistband is facing down, and that raw edge is even with the raw edge of my pants. And I'm going to stitch that at 5/8 inch seam allowance. So 5/8 inch seam allowance. Where's my presser foot? There it is. I totally have moved this sewing machine, so I'm going to move it back. And once there. Okay, so now that waistband's on there, and our next step is to cut our elastic, and we're going to pull our elastic through that waistband. So your pants came with a pattern piece that tells you how long to cut the elastic for your waistband. So if you're not making the pants for yourself, you can use this pattern piece to know how long to cut your elastic. If you are making them for yourself, you're going to take the elastic and put it around your waist and kind of hold it snug, and then cut a piece of elastic. So I'm going to get my elastic ready, and then we're going to pull it through. So you'll need your elastic, and then you'll need a big safety pin to pull it through, and then I'll show you how to do that. Okay, so I cut a piece of elastic, and I have my safety pin to pull it through. So what you're going to do is you're going to, on this, in your pants where the hole, you'll find that hole that we left, and you're going to, with the safety pin side, you're going to pull through that hole, and the whole time you're pulling through, you want to make sure that you are not twisting the elastic. So you want to make sure you're feeling the elastic and you're holding it and keeping it flat. So pull it all the way through and holding it flat as you do that. And when it gets through, what we're going to do is we are going to put one end on top of the other, and sometimes when you get to the side seam, you have to kind of wiggle it, make sure that, there we go, that it will not get jammed up on that side seam. And then what we're going to do is we are going to use our zigzag stitch, and we're going to zigzag across to join those two ends together. And then the waist will be done. And then in our next video, I'm going to show you how to hem the bottom. So here we are. We're almost all the way around. So it went over that other side seam pretty easily. I know, it's kind of a boring pair of pants when you make it out of muslin. But I made my real sample out of a cute pair of plaid flannel. So you should know that I'm not boring all the time. All right, I just thought it would be easier to see on the video with muslin. Okay, so I took it all the way around, and before I join it, I'm feeling around, making sure that I didn't twist it. I'm gonna take off my pin, and when you do this elastic, you kind of, sometimes you want to make sure that you don't pull the other end through. So then I'm gonna lap the two ends over each other, but when I lap it, I make sure that I'm lapping it flat, so laying one end on top of the other end. And then I'm turning my machine onto zigzag. And then I'm just going to zigzag in two places. And that makes sure that it won't come undone. But it usually doesn't. I have never had that problem when I've joined elastic. And I certainly have a lot of threads to clip after I'm done with this pair of pants. Okay, I'll clip this before I show it to you because it is a little bit ugly. Okay, so there is my join, and then I stuff it back in and even out the elastic all the way around the waistband. So kind of give it a shake. So I'm gonna clean all those threads up. Oh, that's a big pair of trousers. And hopefully you didn't get any twists in that elastic. You want to feel around. All right, so our last step is gonna be to hem these